Welcome everyone to our annual partnership with Ner HaMizrach on Teshuva Drasha. And it is going to be my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker in just a minute. First of all, I just want to acknowledge Rabbi Ephraim and Ner HaMizrach for their initiative in making this happen together with Jacob. And also want to mention that the drasha is being delivered to Luyan Nishmas Meshi bat Asher, Aharon ben Yaakov, Tinya bat Aharon, Yitzchak ben Nisim, Miriam bat Luna, David ben Yesha, Yoshua, Raina bat Yaakov, and Mordechai ben Luna. He Nishmat Yehei Nishmasim Baruch. When I think of Rabbi Shapiro, I think of Lashon Hara. I had the privilege of, together with my wife, of hearing Rabbi Shapiro speak in the Chavetz Chaim's Beis Medrash in Radin several years ago. And of course, we all know that if we want to know anything about Lashon Hara or why we shouldn't speak Lashon Hara, we simply dial an 800 number and we hear Rabbi Shapiro, and all of Klal Yisrael hears from Rabbi Shapiro. That alone, the fact that Rabbi Shapiro takes on Lashon Hara and makes it his personal tafkid in life, that alone qualifies him to be a speaker every single day of his Teshuva. But we know that Rabbi Shapiro is really a magid of Klal Yisrael, Baruch Hashem. He's zocheh to inspire Jews all over the world regularly in Torah and mitzvahs and in Kiruv Levavos to Hashem. Rabbi Shapiro, it's an honor to have you.
Years ago, one of my mispalim was in New York, and he met someone, I think, in Borough Park. And he must have told this person that his Rav is Rabbi Shapiro, meaning me. And the person was so excited. That's amazing. I have someone who works for me that every day at 11 o'clock, she stops whatever she's doing, she runs to the phone, she dials a number to hear Rabbi Shapiro speak Lashon Hara. So, Rabbi Feldman nailed it. I had to tell the person, you know, I speak against it, but it's a shir that I've been giving at 11 o'clock on every day that one could give a shir for, I think, about 21 years following the cycle of Sefer Chavetz Chaim. But when Rabbi Feldman said that I'm known for Lashon Hara, it reminded me of that story when she said, every day she dials to hear him speak Lashon Hara. I hope I do a job of speaking against it. It's really, really wonderful to be back here for the Teshuva Drasha again. Might I add, for those who remember last year in person, I've been privileged to do it a couple of times right here. I think it was last year because of a potential hurricane. I ended up flying home and did it over the computer. So on so many levels, it's very special for me to be able to speak to you in person. And I wish from the bottom of my heart to everyone in this Chashuva Kehillah, everyone here in Atlanta and wherever your families are, you should each and every one of you be zeichet to a Gemar Chasima Teiva, a good gebenchte gesunte Jahr, Yemale Hashem kol mishalas libchem l'teiva, and all your tefillah should be answered b'rachamim u'b'ratzay. I'm most honored to speak in front of the Rabbanim Shlita. It's a tremendous plus. Every time I have this opportunity, I really feel a sense of appreciation and awe to be in the presence of the Rabbanim Shlita of Atlanta, and Ashreichem, how lucky the Kehillah is to be led by such leaders. And it's really, really a big bracha. Please don't take it for granted. So B'rshus the Rabbanim Shlita, and I hope Be'ezus Hashem that you'll have the continued Gesund and Kayach to continue your Avodas HaKodesh and to continue inspiring Klal Yisrael Gesund to hate. I do want to single out Mrs. Shelley Oka. I think if I imagine she's in the room, I feel she deserves a round of applause. It's an absolute pleasure, year after year, working together with her. She deals with the setting up the event in such a pleasurable way, such a modest way, such attention to detail. It's like, it's extraordinary. And so I thank you for making it such a great experience, and may you and your family be zeicha to a good gebenchte gesunde Jahr. Amen. You know, one of the most powerful tefillos that we say Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim, when you think of those, all of the tefillos are of course extraordinary. You think of Nisan HaToikev, the words go straight to your heart and soul. I mean, we shake and we cry when we say it. And top on that list of poignant tefillos prayers would have to be the one that begins Lekel Eirech Din. It's so hard to put the power of that prayer into words. Levoichein, levavois, each one. I mean, if I went through every one, every single one of those clauses is just something that it really goes straight to your neshama. Now, this year I saw Akasha, a great question, and it made me, that's how I came up with this topic a number of months ago. And Eirech Din is a lawyer. Hashem's not our lawyer, he's our judge. This is something we say all 3 of the days. On the first day Rosh Hashanah we say it in Shachris. On the second day Rosh Hashanah we say it in Musaf. On Yom Kippurim we say it in Shachris. What are we saying? Lekel Eirech Din. In Eirech Din, if you have a relative in Eretz Yisrael who's a lawyer, or better yet, just open up any Hebrew-English dictionary and you'll see that an Eirech Din is a lawyer is an Eirech Din. It comes from the word Shulchan Aruch. Eirech means to prepare, the one who prepares the case to be presented to the judge. But God's not my lawyer, he's my judge. Emes ki atahu dayan. So what do I mean in this heartfelt, stirring, emotional prayer? Lekel Eirech Din. He's not my lawyer, he's my judge. They say over a Maisa that somebody had an impending court case, and he was nervous about it, so he went to his Rebbe, his Rav, and he said, "Can I get a bracha that the case should be Matzliach? I need a bracha for the case next week." And the Rebbe looked at him and said, "Of course, I give you a bracha, everything should go well, I give you a bracha. The court should find the truth." He says, "No, Rebbe, no. I don't want the court to find the truth. I want to win the case. I don't want to find the truth. I need to win the case." You see, judge and emes are one and the same. Hence it says in Nisan HaToikev, emes ki atahu dayan. And if he serves as only our judge, I got to tell you something which is probably obvious. We don't want him to find the truth. We want to win the case. And the case, whether you're ready or not, is happening and concluding on Yom Kippur. As we know, everything, starting Rosh Hashanah, Aseret Yemei Teshuva, culminating Yom Kippur, it's a court case that's happening. Every one of us pass by individually and we're going to be judged. No. I don't want the court to find out the truth about my past year. I want to win the case. So I do want Hashem, who's obviously my lawyer, obviously my judge, but I want to win the case. I need him to be my Eirech Din. I know it's well known that they say a boy, a 5th grader, we'll call him Chaimka, his father was a 5th grade Rebbe. So it came that year that he had his father as his Rebbe. And one day, I guess he was misbehaving, Chaim was, and Rebbe had no choice but to give a reprimand and a patch to Chaim. And it was stinging, it hurt on so many levels. And that night, when Chaim was home with his father, he said, Tati, can I ask you a favor? He said, of course. He said, Tati, could you ask my Rebbe not to patch me again? And that's really what it means, asking Hashem to please be our lawyer. He is our judge. That's happening around the whole world. Everybody. He's our judge. And we hope that he'll take our chatoyim, avonos, and pshayim and replace them with slicha, mechila, and kapara. But I don't want the court to find the truth. I want him to be lekel oirech din. I want him to be Tati. Could you please tell my Rebbe not to patch me again? There's Rebbe and there's Tati. There's Malkeinu, there's Avinu, there's judge, and there's lawyer. And so yes, the goal, and that can't be stated strongly enough, is to hope that Hashem will be our lawyer, our Oirech Din, Lekel Oirech Din, who will represent us in front of Hashem the judge. Please, Tati, ask my Rebbe not to patch me again. As only a judge, we don't want the court to find the truth. We need him as a lawyer. It got me thinking, what is the difference fundamentally between a judge and a lawyer? Without the legalities, just very simply, I think. A judge primarily is someone that will go ahead and pick up the piece of paper and see all of the data and see the hard facts. And based on the hard facts and what it says on page 472, subparagraph 8, you're gone, you're guilty. A judge has to do that. A judge reads the facts, he sees the data, all the information is gathered, and let me take a look. You have quantitatively and qualitatively, not just quantity, but qualitatively, you have more mitzvos or averos, more averos than mitzvos, and let me just read it, and based on what it says on that page, in that paragraph, you are... That's a judge. That's not what a lawyer does. A lawyer wanting to help the client has to take so much more into account. The extenuating circumstances, the remorse, the regret, the gefühl, the emotion, the broken heart, the desire to change. That's a primary difference between a lawyer and a judge. A lawyer, a judge, I should say, will read the facts, the hard, cold numbers on the paper. But a lawyer goes so much deeper, takes so much more. It doesn't mean that the person didn't do something wrong. I'm not condoning anything that was done incorrect. But a lawyer's responsibility towards the client is to take so much more into account beyond all of what the paper says. I remember the Jibodai Rav Katz of Montreal, a giant of a person, once told me a pshat in the Nesana Toikev, and I think that this is a fabulous proof to the difference between a lawyer and a judge. In Nesana Toikev, when we are literally trembling, it says, the angels are trembling. What happens? It says, the book of your past year 5785 is open, and the judge has to just... But then it says, after it's opened, it says, Umei Elav Yikare. Now, if you have in English, Umei Elav Yikare means the book reads itself. Books don't read themselves. Books don't read themselves. Someone reads the book. The judge reads the data. And this is what it says. What in the world does it mean, Umei Elav Yikare? It reads itself. Books don't talk. So I remember he once explained, I don't recall from whom, but it's so powerful. Beyond the hard information that the judge reads on the paper, you did this and you did that, and it says, but beneath the words, there's so much behind the scenes
Like I said, you're right, the Aveira was done. But the paper says the Aveira was done. And we're not condoning that. But do you know that person did not sleep for almost a week? That person was so broken. Why couldn't I have tried harder? Now it says that I did a mitzvah. But you know what it doesn't say and is beneath the surface? It doesn't say and it's beneath the surface that, oh, if I would have had more time, I would have loved to have done that mitzvah again and again because it's who I really am. That remorse, that desire to change, the extenuating circumstances, the leiv nishbar, the broken heart, the tears, the cracks, that's not on the paper. Words are on the paper. What's beneath the words, that's also taken into account on Yom Kippurim. Umei elav yikare. The book reads itself. Those emotions, the gefühl, all of the behind the scenes that are way, way deeper than just the words, those are taken into account. A judge opens the Sefer HaZechronos and reads. The lawyer is Umei elav yikare. He'll go to all of the behind the scenes, again, not condoning, we've said it already twice, but simply telling you there's so much more for the judge that has to be taken into account. And by the way, now revisit that tefillah l'kel erech din. I've had so many people told me, I've used this already a few times, once in New York and once in North Miami Beach where I live. I've had people tell me it gives you a whole different appreciation for the tefillah. Take a look at many of the stanzas and you'll see they are lawyer-esque in nature, not judge-esque in nature. Levoiche levovos, to search the heart. Legoyle amukos, to reveal the depth. Leyodeya machashavos, to know the thoughts. Letzoife nistoros, to open up that which is hidden. A judge doesn't do that. A judge is v'siftach sefer hazechronos. But a lawyer will be umei elav yikare, the emotion. And yes, like we've said, sometimes a person did the aveira, but they're so broken, and there's a real mizalva, Kabbalah also. They're going to try harder next time. All of that, umei elav yikare, the lawyer brings out. And that's why levoiche levovos is lekel erech din. You, God, as my lawyer, levoiche levovos, legoyle amukos, liyodeya machashavos, letzoife nistoros. It's an awesome, awesome tefillah. So what is crystal clear, Rabbi Yisai, is that we want Hashem to be our... He's the judge. That's it. You didn't need me to come from NMB to tell you that. But I do want to tell you we desperately need him as our Eirich did. Because if the court only finds out the truth, that's not good. So then the last bunch of weeks I was thinking to myself, how do we get Hashem, who is the truthful ultimate judge, to also be our lawyer? How do we get him as our Eirich did? How do we have the ability to say, Tati, please tell Rebbe, don't patch me again. And so I was working on this for quite a while, and I had the ability to be machadish and think of something that maybe you're thinking is quite obvious. And then I was davening somewhere, and I saw brought down, and I xeroxed this so you could at least see I'm holding it up, from the Heilige Barditcher the Rebbe, Rabbi Yitzchak ben Sarasosha, the advocate of Klal Yisrael. What I had the chance to think of is the answer he brings down word for word. I'll first tell you what I thought of, and then I'll read you this verbiage. So how can I get Hashem to be my lawyer? It dawned on me, maybe the answer is that we have to start being a better lawyer in all of our relationships. Let's start, we again, I hope I'm not saying it too harshly. Sometimes we're way too judgmental, and we play judge. And we just end relationships because I'm not saying that you don't feel slighted and hurt or whatever it is. But when we play judge without playing lawyer, it's a disaster. Stop playing judge so much. Let's start. Don't do it with your spouse. Don't you dare do. You're privileged to have a parent or parents. Stop being so judgmental. Maybe there's a sibling or a cousin that the relationship has cooled off with the last bunch of years. Maybe there's someone you grew up with that used to be a best friend and now you haven't spoken in a decade. Because when you play only judge, it will break down a relationship. Because the hurt is there, and this is what you did, and I'm showing it to you on paper. You did this, and you did this, and you did this, and you did this, and you did this. Start being more lawyer-esque in nature. Doesn't mean I'm not validating your feelings, and it doesn't mean you're not hurt. It means that you'll go umei elov yikare, look deeper, judge favorably, go beyond what was done. Find the extenuating circumstances. There is remorse, there is regret. The person is trying to change. Be a better lawyer to your spouse, to your parents, to your sibling, to your cousin, to the one you used to have a relationship with. How's that for a novel idea? Be a better lawyer. So here's the commitment for 5786 Tashin Peva. I want to be a better lawyer. And in that schus, I will have the ability to properly say, Lekel Bayruchdin. So then I found the Barditcher in Parsha Shoiftim, the Parsha that I linked for my Bar Mitzvah. So if anyone here has that Parsha or a child or an Einerkel, this is golden. On the opening pasuk of the Parsha, Shoiftim the Shoichum Titein Lecha B'chol Sharecha, point officers for yourself. The Shoftu es Am Mishpat Tzedek, and judge the with righteousness. Listen to what the Heilige Barditcher Rabbi Yitzchak ben Sarasosha says. We want to know how to be ma'oirer the midah of rachamim lemala. Only way is by being ma'oirer the midah of rachamim lemata. You've got to start it down here to open it upstairs. And then he speaks it out clearly. When we lemata are misnahed, b'chesed, b'rachamim, done as kol ish mi Yisrael lekav schus. When we do that down here, lemala, then when you're judged, Rosh Hashanah says to Michu and Yom Kippurim upstairs, nisayrer oiseh hamida, you awaken in heaven, the chesed, the rachamim, the judging favorably. I felt so fabulous when I saw it, because that's the way I have felt. He is telling us, the Barditchever, if you will learn to be a better lawyer here, the Rebbeinu Shalom says, that's the only way you'll get me to be a Eirach. It's not like rocket science. Then, by the way, he teaches it slightly al pi drush into the pasuk. And this is breathtaking. Shoiftin v'shoitrin titein lecha, rotza loimer. Sha'ata ba'atzmecha tisakin v'tachin. You yourself, titein lecha. You know, somebody has a court case, they're like, well, I hope I get that one as a judge. I hope I get that one as a lawyer, because they have a fabulous reputation. The Barditchever Rebbe says, you have the ability to pick whomever you want in a heavenly tribunal to represent you and be your lawyer. Titein lecha. You pick it, you decide, it's your choice. You know how you deserve that? V'shoftu es ha'am mishpat tzedek. Start judging people favorably. Wow. That's the new resolution for 5786. Because if we want Hashem as the Eirach Din to represent us to Hashem the lawyer and to tell the Rebbe not to punch me again, he says, Titein lecha. That's like an amazing thing. That means I could actually be equipped with the greatest piece of news on Yom Kippur. I can pick who I want as a judge and who I want as a lawyer, who I want to represent me, which is of course Hashem. Titein lecha. Go pick. But there's one condition. V'shoftu es ha'am mishpat tzedek. Be a better lawyer to other people. It might be in an earlier year I said this story, and if I did, I apologize for the chazara. But if it makes it feel better, in my shul they've probably heard this story dozens of times.
but I felt it's so fabulous to Hashem being our lawyer that it would be terrible not to say it. My father, Rabbi Ephraim Shapiro Zatzal, the Feldman and Shapiro Mishpacha goes back multiple generations. I could almost say 3 for sure, perhaps at some point 4 generations. It goes back a long time. My father Zatzal would always used to say a story with the Kapishnitzar Rebbe. One Yom Kippur, it was, and if I said it here in an earlier Teshuva Drasha, I apologize. It was during the break on Yom Kippur. He was walking on the Lower East Side. My father said in Kittel and Talis, he must have looked like the Kohen Gadol. And he passed by a restaurant, and he saw through the glass window of the restaurant that in the front of the restaurant there was a Yid eating on Yom Kippur, like so deliberately. The Kapishnitzar Rebbe walked in, put his arm on the shoulder of the Yid and said these words, and I quote, "Good Yom Tif Reb Yid, und es mit Appetit." Good Yom Tif, and eat with a hearty appetite. I almost want to go around the room and ask, what would you have said to that man? But when he left the restaurant, the Gabbai said, "Yilameinu Rabbeinu," what did that mean? Listen to what he said. On Yom Kippur, a person gets judged for his sins and punished either as a mumar lahachis or a mumar l'tayavin. A mumar lahachis means that you've sinned deliberately. A mumar l'tayavin is less severe. It means you gave into a temptation. They're both bad, but the first is punished far more severely. When I passed the restaurant, said the Kapishnitzar Rebbe, I saw he was eating deliberately lahachis. That means he was going to get punished as the very severe mumar lahachis, and I couldn't have that. So I walked in and I said, and of course that doesn't mean he's condoning a person eating on Yom Kippur, of course not. But I said to him, es mit appetit, because if he now takes the next bite with a hearty appetite, he'll, so to speak, be downgraded to only a mumar l'te'avoi, not a mumar l'hachis, and one who sins out of temptation gets punished less severely, so I wished him a good appetite to minimize his punishment. Now that may be one of the greatest stories I've ever heard. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. But analyze it for a minute. The judge would take a look at the case and say, you ate on Yom Kippur, and it says in subparagraph 412, part B, you're gone. But the Kapishnitzar Rebbe, as lawyer, says es mit appetit. To downgrade the punishment the judge will give from the deliberate sinner to the one who sins out of temptation. Because the lawyer looks for the remorse. The lawyer looks to make the punishment less severe, find whatever they can. And so the Kapishnitzar Rebbe, as the quintessential lawyer, said es mit appetit. So the judge won't punish as a mumar lahachis, but only a mumar l'teyavin. That's why we have to be a better lawyer to all our relationships. There's a story that was told to me personally a number of months ago when I was in Eretz Yisrael for Shabbos. So I find it very personal to say it over. I've written it up in an article in Indian magazine for Hamodia. I've used it on a video, and I've now seen it written and on videos everywhere you turn. I guess that's what happens. So I'm happy it's out there, L'Hagdil Torah L'Adira. So if you know the story, I hopefully get a little bit of credit. Maybe you saw it from me first. It's just beyond words. It took place about 30 years ago in Talpiot. There were a group of 12-year-old boys that left the home of their parents. They were living on the street. They ran away from home. 12-year-old homeless vagabonds roaming the street. Nebuch Rachmana Litzlano Aleinu. The way they slept was they had mattresses that they put in warehouses, and in abandoned warehouses where they slept. And how they survived eating, a different boy stole from a different grocery in Makolet every day, enough for the 12-year-olds. And that's how they existed. There's not a detail
of this story we will embellish. Friday, whoever was given the job of stealing had to steal twice because no makol is going to be open on Shabbos. And so a boy had to steal twice for the 12-year-olds to be able not to starve. One Friday, the boy who was given the job of stealing, when he was in the middle of stealing, he thought he was being watched. He froze, he ran out, he only stole enough for one day, not Shabbos. So Friday night, in the middle of the night, these 12-year-olds living on their own, they were absolutely starving. And they roamed the streets. Nebuch, they looked in garbage cans and places. They couldn't find anything to eat. There was one boy that was an exceptional climber, and he realized through a fire escape he could smash a window and break into an apartment with easy access. And that's exactly what he did. He smashed the window quietly, he broke in, and there on the counter was a hot crock pot of cholent, too hot to carry, so he took a towel, brought it down, and he said they couldn't eat it then because it was too hot. They had to wait a few hours to cool down, and then they had no utensils, like they just shoveled it in with their hands. A Yiddish child's a Yiddish child. He went back up and returned the crock pot and the towel. In the morning, the family that was broken into realized, it was the 12-year-olds, the hoodlums, the runaways, the kids living on the street. They terrorized, they broke into the apartments, whatever it is. And the week came and went. Now I'm asking, if you know the story, that's okay, but if you don't, please don't assume you know the ending at some point, because I'm fairly certain you don't. The next Friday, as incredible as it sounds, another boy whose job it was to steal double, similar to the boy the Friday before, something happened. He ran out prematurely, only stole for Friday, not for Shabbos. Same story again. So there they are, same situation, starving. You never go to the same place you broke into. First of all, they just fixed the window. You're going to smash it again? And like, that's got to be the craziest thing to do. They'll be waiting for you there. Hello? They searched and they searched and they searched. Ve'einenu. They were left with no choice, but that same person who was a fabulous climber climbed up, smashed the window that was just fixed and he broke the week before. And there on the kitchen counter he saw 2 crock pots of cholent and a note on the second one that said, Yiladim ze b'shvilchem. My tayere kinderlach. I made this one for you. Now most of you could have guessed the ending. I probably heard you, yeah, there were 2 crock pots of cholent. Most of us could figure that out. He said, that was amazing, but that was not what got to his heart to return. And by the way, I'm sorry if it sounds like a cliche storybook ending, but he made up, he was returning to his family that night, not after Shabbos, because he was so inspired. A woman